It's a Chia Obama, by the way. It's a Chia Obama. Chia. Thank you for all of your guesses. None of you got it right. Good afternoon. We have our results from the Texas primaries. And yeah, there's going to be a runoff on the Republican side, but the Democrats, well, Stephen Colbert's the kingmaker, I guess. Poor Jasmine Crockett. We're going to miss you. But we'd like to introduce everybody to the new white knight, the savior for the Democrats in Texas. He's Beto 2.0, James Tallarico, and we're going to show you everything you need to know about him coming up in just a second. Plus, Tim Walz, Keith Ellison there in the House today testifying about the corruption happening on their watch in the Somali community. And the showdown between Jim Jordan and Tim Walz is epic. We're going to show you pretty much every bit of it coming up in just a second. And the fallout continues here from the military strikes in Iran. Democrats just don't seem to be on our side, except for one exception. We'll show you him, and we'll show you John Kennedy in all his glory, telling it like it is. That's all coming up right now. My name's Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry. A Chia Obama. You see it now, don't you? Chia Obama. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. Thanks for giving this video a like. We appreciate it. And don't forget to share this video and share it with all your friends across your social media. James Tallarico is the new Democrat nominee for the U.S. Senate in Texas, and he'll be the first one to tell you that Texas is finally going to turn blue. They're ready to flip it, baby. I would not put a lot of money on that. We're going to show you who James Tallarico is, and we're going to show you why Democrats seem to love him so much. We're also going to say a fond farewell to Jasmine Crockett, who now, well, after January, will not have a job in politics, which is very sad. We'll get to all of that. But first, this morning on Morning Joe and Mika analyzing yesterday's results, and Joe Scarborough just couldn't help himself. He spun a real tall tale for everybody. It's a polite way of saying he's just not telling the truth, or at the very least, he's inaccurate. Here, watch.
So here they try to keep Tallarico off the show. What happens? They give him a boost. If you talk to Jasmine Crockett, she'll say the same thing. I was ahead until that controversy. So the very person they were trying to defeat, the very person whose message scared them, is the very person who they helped win this race. This just keeps happening over and over. They think they can game the system. They think that somehow they're going to be able to win. In the end, voters have the final say. So
also, by the way, the they in there, he claims, is Republicans, or even more importantly, the Trump administration and the Trump political strategists. It's funny, that last thing he said, I don't know if you caught it or not.
This just keeps happening over and over. They think they can game the system.
They think they can game the system. You know, like during the Republican primary, having one candidate on daily, almost every day, and not interviewing him, but celebrating him and giving him a shoulder massage with a happy ending. And then once that candidate wins the primary, suddenly you turn on him, call him a Nazi, and hope that that helps the Democrat win the election. Of course, I've just described exactly what these two did with Donald Trump in 2016. And I mean exactly what they did. See, this whole idea of thinking they can game the system, they need to look in the mirror, because that's exactly what they did. They promoted Donald Trump. They gave him softball interview after softball interview. They helped him win the nomination. Thank you very much. Thinking that it would help Hillary Clinton. So they know a thing or two about trying to game the system. But more importantly and fundamentally, any viewer of this program knows that it wasn't the Republicans and it wasn't the Trump political apparatus that had anything to do with the James Tallarico, Stephen Colbert story that he's alluding to. You heard him say right up until the Colbert thing, Jasmine Crockett was winning. Yes, that's true. And it was the Democrats. It was the Democrats, and it was Stephen Colbert, I guess he's the kingmaker now, who meddled in the election. You see, they created that whole fake controversy because CBS rightly said, if you're going to have one candidate on, you have to do equal time with the other candidates. Stephen Colbert, that racist SOB, did not want Jasmine Crockett on his show. So instead, he acted like it was the Trump administration who was trying to silence that dangerous voice, James Tallarico. He ended up raising millions of dollars over the fake controversy, and the rest is history. Now, viewers of this show know that if you just watch Morning Joe, you got a very different version of the events. And if you watch CNN, you would probably get that other version of events if it weren't for our pal Scott Jennings.
By the whole thing with Stephen Colbert.
That was a big rocket for him. He had to be a real news nerd to know who he was before then. But that moment where, suddenly, Stephen Colbert, who's obviously a legend among Democrats, says, hey, this kid, Trump and these guys don't want to hear from. I'm going to let you hear from him now. That's when he really, he got $2.5 million, I think, the next day. And it put him on the map. You could see it kind of irritated Jasmine Crockett a little bit that he was getting all this attention. Because up until then, she was very far ahead. If, in fact, he closes, probably that's the day that started.
Yeah,
You think that's...
I definitely think it was true. Like you said, we obviously knew Tallarico. We were covering him, looking at, the kind of personality he was, but it was completely different after that.
Pay for that level.
You can't, which is ironic because it was Jasmine Crockett who before was getting all the sort of, earned media online.
Scott, you look skeptical.
Look, well, let's just admit it was an op, right? Trump had nothing to do with it. It was CBS's lawyers that had raised internal issues.
No,
about
it's not.
It was a total sort of a hoax about how they positioned it. But I tend to agree.
Details.
I know. I'm glad that's what you think. But I tend to agree.
Democrats...
I'll tell you this. It showed where the Democratic establishment is on it. They don't want Crockett. I think the Republicans would love to run against Jasmine Crockett because she's easier to paint as a radical. But it kind of showed you where the power brokers in the Democratic
You
Party.
think Tallarico would be harder for Republicans to run against? He has more crossover appeal, you think?
Probably, although I still think he's an extremist. But Crockett is easier to paint as a radical. I think that's become clear.
All right.
We learned a couple of things there. First of all, Scott Jennings, a very smart man. Number two, Abby Phillips isn't the only person at CNN who won't let him finish a sentence without interrupting him. And number three, the entire reason this narrative about Tallarico would work is if you buy into the idea that Republicans are terrified of this guy. Now, the question was, will Tallarico have an easier time in Texas to win the United States Senate than Jasmine Crockett? Well, that's not really the question, is it? Because I'd have an easier job, and I've never run for anything. I ran for 8th grade vice president of the student body, and I won. That was it. And president of the drama club in high school. I won that too. But the point is, anybody could have an easier time winning the U.S. Senate race as a Democrat in Texas than Jasmine Crockett would. That's not the question. That's not the question at all. To buy into this narrative that Republicans are terrified of James Tallarico, well, you'll have to see what James Tallarico really brings to the table and what he has to offer that would terrify Republicans in Texas. So if you think that Republicans and conservatives are trying to silence and censor and keep James Tallarico from the public stage, you're wrong, because James Tallarico is everywhere right now. I can't get enough of James Tallarico, because if they think this is a winning message in Texas, well, okay, let's watch.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
Okay, Texas, do you agree with that man or not? Vote accordingly. Honestly, that's all you need, I think, for the next political ad in this campaign. Why would we be afraid of this? Why? Okay. Trust me, if Republicans are terrified of James Tallarico when we put pressure on CBS and Stephen Colbert to keep him off the air, why is it mostly all Republican accounts today on social media tweeting out things like this? We are more than ready to argue with an idea like that isn't playing for me. All right, well, you heard it. No, I want to hear it again. We're going to hear it again, darn it.
Should be like our front porch. Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
Yeah, okay. But we're just getting started, because the thing that Democrats like to convince themselves of about James Tallarico is that he is a new kind of Beto O'Rourke. Yes, that's right. He'll be as successful as Beto O'Rourke, because James Tallarico is a deeply devout Christian and he likes to talk about his faith. He embraces his faith. He likes to make the Christian case for his radical left-wing Democrat policies. Wow, you're right. I am terrified of that. Setting aside the fact that I was told reliably by Democrats mostly that American politicians are not supposed to bring their Christian faith into the conversation. We're supposed to have a firewall, a separation of church and state. You leave your Bible out. Oh, you can bring your Quran, that's fine. But leave your Bible out of the legislative process. Okay, let's hear James Tallarico talk about his deeply, deeply devout Christian faith.
Is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
God is non-binary, and our southern border should be a welcome mat. So far, he's 2 for 2. So this is a Democrat stereotype idea of what a devout Christian is, a Christian that they can get behind and celebrate. Someone who comes up and proclaims that God is non-binary. So, make sure you have tampons in the bathroom when God goes to use the urinal. Sure. And this may be my favorite one because he likes to talk about abortion a lot. He makes the Christian case for abortion. The Christian biblical case. What would Jesus do? He would abort that baby. He loves that narrative. So here he is giving what appears to be a sermon of sorts at a church in front of, I guess you could call it an altar, but I don't think they use that altar the way my church uses an altar. And he was talking about abortion, and he wanted to make sure that everyone in the congregation understood one very important part of abortion.
Before we go further, I want to acknowledge that our trans community needs abortion care too. Defending trans Texans is something we have to do every day.
Yeah, the trans community needs abortions too. And in case you're not connecting the dots on this, because it does get a little confusing with all the various types of genders out there, when he says trans community needs abortions too, he's talking about, in his mind, men. Yes. See, in his mind, he believes that men get pregnant, so of course they need an abortion, because even men love to kill their babies. Specifically, the men who don't have male genitalia. Again, you have to be a deeply devout, believing, Christian, woke, radical, liberal Democrat to have this sentence make sense.
Before we go further, I want to acknowledge that our trans community needs abortion care too.
Actually, you don't make it make sense. You celebrate it. You elevate it. You platform it. You nominate it for the United States Senate. And since he's talking about abortion, let's break this one down, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats' favorite Christian, in fact, I think the only Christian that they really love and celebrate, James Tallarico, making the Christian biblical case for why Jesus favors abortion.
But I say all this in context of abortion because before God comes over Mary and we have the incarnation, God asks for Mary's consent, which is remarkable. I mean, go back and read this in Luke. I mean, the angel comes down and asks Mary if this is something she wants to do. And she says, if it is God's will, let it be done. Let it be. Let it happen. So to me, that is an affirmation in one of our most central stories that creation has to be done with consent. You cannot force someone to create. Creation is one of the most sacred acts that we engage in as human beings, but that has to be done with consent. It has to be done with freedom, and to me, that is absolutely consistent with the ministry and life and death of Jesus. And so that's how I come.
Yeah, there you go. Being pro-abortion is consistent with the ministry and teaching of Jesus, says James Tallarico. I pray for this man because it's one thing to hold ideas that are so contrary to what is obviously the Christian faith, but it's another thing to proselytize them, promote them, preach them and turn other people, convince other people that what is an obvious, horrific, sinful behavior is in fact holy and blessed by our Lord. That's some diabolical crap there, okay? And he needs, I shouldn't say deserves, but he does need prayers, as do anyone who's listening to him and believing, saying, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. A couple of things I want to break down here, though, as he just explained how the angel Gabriel, who for some reason he couldn't come up with the name, asked Mary's permission, I believe, to be the Ark of the New Covenant and bear the Messiah through virgin conception. I believe that's what he said. The angel asked permission, and then he said,
Mary, if this is something she wants to do, and she says, if it is God's will, let it be done. Let it be. Let it happen.
Yeah.
So to me, that is an affirmation in one of our most central stories.
Sure it is. Yeah. And he said, just see, it says so right there in Luke. Well, it's funny. We all have a copy of the Bible if we want it. And here's what happens. It says here that the angel came to her and said, "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you." We're familiar with that phrase. She was greatly troubled at the saying and considered in her mind what sort of greeting it might be. And the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God, and behold, you will conceive." So she has not conceived yet, right? This is preconception. "You will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus. He will be great, and he'll be called the Son of the Most High, and the Lord God will give to him the throne of the father David, and he will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end." And Mary said to the angel, "How can this be, since I have no husband?" Right? Of course, she did have a husband. She was betrothed. She hadn't been with a man, nor would she. And the angel said to her, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power it hasn't happened yet, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child to be born will be called Holy, the Son of God. And behold, your kinswoman Elizabeth in her old age has also conceived a son, and this is the 6th month with whom she is barren, for with God nothing is impossible." And Mary said, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. Let it be to me according to your word." And the angel departed. Where did he ask her permission and consent? The whole story that he just told Joe Rogan was that he asked her consent. I mean, I know it's shocking to learn that he is misquoting the fundamental story that he's using to justify abortion, but
We have the incarnation. God asks for Mary's consent.
did you check that out? Did you see that? Did you? Now, she did give consent. That should be noted. But I don't remember the angel on behalf of God asking for consent. Do you? We just read it together. Maybe there's a different translation. Maybe it's the gospel according to Hillary Clinton.
Which is remarkable. I mean, go back and read this in
We did. We just went back and read it. And Joe Rogan shouldn't entertain issues like this unless he's prepared to actually engage. But then there was this part.
an affirmation in one of our most central stories that creation has to be done with consent.
Procreation. It's not creation. Human beings don't create. God creates. We procreate, which means we are participating with God to create. That's a very important theological distinction that needs to be made. God did not ask Adam's permission to be created. God did not ask Eve's permission to be created. God did not ask any of our permission to create the world. So the way he is putting God in a box here is unnerving, to say the least. But one other thing.
You cannot force someone to create. Creation is one of the most sacred acts that we engage in as human beings. But that has to be done with consent. It has to be.
Okay, so let's give him a bit of a freebie here, because he is making an important point. Separate creation from procreation. That's true. Procreation is a sacred thing that we human beings do, and procreation does have to be done with consent. Just so you know, that's a description of why rape is a sin, why sexual assault is a sin. That's not permission to have an abortion. Okay? Seriously, there are people who will see this and think, oh, that's so beautiful. That's so true. I hadn't thought of it that way. You hadn't thought of it that way because it's absolutely moral nonsense. I just want to be clear here, because he is saying that letting a baby grow within a woman's womb for its full 9-month term and then being born is the procreative act that requires consent. And the way James Tallarico would say it from his reading of the gospel, at any time during those 9 months, if the mother decides to withdraw her consent, it's just fine, it's permissible, in fact, it's holy to go ahead and kill that baby. But you see, when you twist the language around to such a point where you call having an abortion reproductive freedom, you can make your brain think those things. But here's the point. The act of procreation is not the moment when the baby is born. The act of reproduction is not the moment that the baby is born. What he's describing is conception. What the angel Gabriel was describing to the Virgin Mary was conception. The act of conceiving, the act of procreation, the act of reproduction happens at the moment of conception, consent, very important for that. But after that, the reproductive act, the procreative act has already occurred. This is the great hope for Democrats in Texas and nationwide right now. You're going to see a lot of this, man. And no, we're not afraid of that. Not one bit. We are, though, very sad to see our pal, Jasmine Crockett, exit stage extreme left. Last night, she was very concerned about what she saw in the state of Texas and what the Democrats had done to her. And in the throes of the polls closing and in the throes of seeing how the Democrats had pretty much destroyed her political aspirations, she had this to say.
Fred has already stated, we encourage each and every one of you to remain resilient. We cannot allow this type of behavior to be rewarded, because so long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating, then they will continue to do it. So I am asking you, I am begging you to make sure that you go ahead and figure out where it is that you are supposed to vote, stand in line, wait in line.
Yep, she said they're cheating. As long as they know they can cheat, they'll cheat. And then it seemed like by the time she got up on the stage last night and she refused to concede, someone said, hey, it sounds like you're saying the Democrats are cheating. And Jasmine Crockett probably said, you bet your ass that's what I'm saying. And then they said, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Democrats never cheat in elections. So she changed the script.
So that's my news, is that we're not going to have election results tonight, in my opinion, based upon what specifically is taking place in Dallas County. Unfortunately, this is what Republicans like to do.
It's just too funny. So I'm just trying to follow the script here. Republicans are terrified of James Tallarico, and so we kept him off Stephen Colbert because we want Jasmine Crockett to win the election because she's easier to beat, which, I mean, probably true. And yet, at the same time, Jasmine Crockett lost because Republicans cheated and kept her vote from showing up. So I guess Republicans worked their dirty tricks on both sides of the Democrat primary, I guess. We need Joe Scarborough to figure this out for us because I'm very confused. Aren't you? Also, Dallas County, I think, is a pretty Democrat part of the state of Texas. I could be wrong there, but you might want to look into what party runs the elections there. Meanwhile, this morning, Jasmine Crockett did concede, excuse me. Not talking about conception anymore. Although she may have, for all I know. I hope she had a good night. Jasmine Crockett conceded the race to James Tallarico. She said, this morning I called James, congratulated him on becoming the Senate nominee. Texas is primed to turn blue, and we must remain united because this is bigger than any one person. This is about the future of all 30 million Texans and getting America back on track. With the primary behind us, Democrats must rally around our nominees and win. I'm committed to doing my part and will continue working to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. Jasmine, they did you wrong, baby. And you shouldn't help them one bit. They let your district get gerrymandered out of existence, so you are out of a job come December. And then you wanted to run for Senate, and look how they done you wrong. And now you're going to help them? Come on. You used to stand for something. Well, or at least one of you used to stand for something. It's hard to keep track of all the Jasmine Crockett's we've gotten to know over the last couple of years. And she's been a big feature for our program here. So could we just take a moment? And thanks to a great montage put together by Western Lensman, can we just take a moment and remember Jasmine Crockett and how important she's been to our lives? Jasmine?
And that is actually what they are fearful of, is my authenticity, because it rings true with every single American. You know, no one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress.
Maybe because these people, they are crazy, because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers, interns, all the things.
On-campus mailboxes, and at that time, my school hired the Cochran firm. And there was a lawyer who graduated from University of Houston who was assigned to me.
You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I want the American people to know that when you stand up to a bully, you win. Do not back down. Do not bend.
And I'm gonna be the first one. You and your little friend off of Twitter. Y'all about to find out, all right?
But at the end of the day, I am who I am, and I am authentic.
Great job, Western Lensman. And yes, Jasmine, on behalf of this program and our entire production team, and really everyone at Town Hall Media, and all of our audience, and really pretty much every conservative Republican in America, we are going to miss you so much. Well, or we're going to miss one of you, one of them. We're not sure. But don't be a stranger too long. We're looking forward to the Substack. Honestly, your collab with Joy Reid and Don Lemon is going to be fire. Coming up in 60 seconds, you're going to want to see the showdown between Jim Jordan and Governor Tim Walz. It just happened like 2 minutes ago. We're going to show you the latest video coming up in 60 seconds. But first, as Operation Epic Fury intensifies, the world braces for what comes next. People of faith pray for freedom and for God's people to be protected. In the Holy Land, red alert sirens fill the air, sirens that give you 15 seconds to reach the nearest bomb shelter. The situation is serious. The threat is real. And in times like this, freedom and faith aren't just abstract ideas. They are what we depend upon. And the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground, preparing large-scale distributions of life-saving food, first aid, and emergency essentials for security personnel, while helping ensure hospitals, emergency rooms, and shelters are stocked with critical medical supplies. This aid is focused on Israel's most vulnerable, the sick, the elderly, children, and families in great need. But the fellowship needs your most generous gift today to make this work possible. Now's the time to stand with Israel's most vulnerable. To rush your gift, call 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-IFCJ, or go online at ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org. Just 2 months after seeing the... one more time. Just 2 months after seeing the Somali Minneapolis fraud story explode across the internet, we now have hearings in the House Judiciary Committee where two of the politicians who were supposed to be minding the store, enforcing the law, and watching your tax dollars seem to be out to lunch or, at worst, participating in and covering up the fraud. Tim Walz and Keith Ellison They had their day in Congress today. The hearing was fantastic. Incredible showdown with Nancy Mace. We'll show you that in a moment. But first, the chairman, the man from Ohio, Jim Jordan. This is awesome.
Why didn't you tell the truth about why you restarted the payments?
Well, Chairman, we did tell you. And Feeding Our Future grew because of the pandemic. And
I didn't ask that question. I said, why didn't you tell the truth about why you restarted the payments? The payments stopped because there were concerns, obviously. It wouldn't stop the payments. Then they're restarted a month later. What was the reason for restarting the payments?
my understanding was the agency believed that the court had required them to make those payments.
And that was false, wasn't it? You repeated
think
that.
that
You
is-
said that, didn't you? You
I
said that's
don't
why the
think-
reason you said the reason you restarted is because the court ordered you to do so. Is that right?
I don't believe that is settled yet, to the best of my knowledge.
Well, I think it is, because the court did something that I don't know if I've ever seen it. They issued a statement saying you were wrong in what you were saying. This is from the court. It says, Feeding Our Future versus Minnesota Department of Education, correcting reports and statements by Governor Tim Walz concerning orders issued by the court. Here's what the judge says. Governor Tim Walz told the media that the Minnesota Department of Education attempted in payments to FOF because of possible fraud, but that Judge Guthman ordered payments to continue in April 2021. Next sentence. That is false. So you said something that wasn't true. He further states this, Judge Guthman, the court says this, Judge Guthman never ordered the Department of Education to resume payments to Feeding Our Future in April 2021 or at any other time. So I want to know, why didn't you tell the truth?
Congressman, the attorneys at the Department of Education interpreted that differently. Both of those judges are no longer on the bench, and I think that
the very
interpretation.
first sentence, the first 7 words. This is not some unnamed source talking to the New York Times. This is not some anonymous source talking to whatever your Minnesota Star Tribune or whatever your paper is. This is the court speaking. First sentence, first 7 words. Due to inaccurate statements by the governor, Ramsey County District Court judge has issued and authorized this following news release. That's pretty straightforward. So the court's lying?
I can't tell you, Congressman, but the interpretation
somebody's lying. Somebody's lying, because you can't say the court ordered you to restart the payments, and then the court says we didn't order you to restart the payments. So either you're lying or the court's lying. And I'm just asking you, which one is it?
I just simply know what the attorneys at the agency believed, that it was a misinterpretation.
Could
And
it
I would
be-
note that those
Could it
payments.
be you were trying to hide behind the court, Governor? Could that maybe be the reason why you issued the statements you did and why the court had to do something you never see done before? They issue a press statement saying you're wrong. The governor is wrong. His statement is, their words, not mine, false. Could that be the reason?
That was not the interpretation of the attorneys. And you know, court work, you can appeal those, Congressman, as you well know. I'm sure
Is it
they're.
all about politics, Governor?
No, it's about taking care of our people, which
Yeah,
Minnesota
these
does
programs
better
go
than
from
anyone
$3
else.
million. The behavioral intervention program went from $3 million to $400 million in 5 years. The housing stabilization went from $2.6 million to $104 million.
Yes, it is all about politics. By the way, you know, I don't know if you noticed, but Tim Walz, he's trying his best not to be stuck in this expression. See it? See it right there? It happened several times there. But if you notice it, we're not going to watch it back right now because we got too much to get to. But multiple times he had the trademark Tim Walz, you know, possum caught in the headlights look, right? And then he sort of, you can watch him blink out of it, and then he leans back and sort of chills out. Real fast, just watch him do it because he's got the look, and now watch him go. He's just going to realize, oh gosh, I'm making that face again. Uh-oh. No, I got to reset. Oh, he hasn't done it yet. He's starting to reset a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And then he leans back. He gets it. He's like, all right. Because somebody in his comms team said, Mr. Governor, please don't get stuck in that face. It's not a good look for you. You look like an idiot. By the way, speaking of being an idiot, this is the Oversight Committee, not the Judiciary Committee. So the chairman, of course, is James Comer. All right, a little bit more from Congressman Jordan.
Governor, who's Casey Magan?
I don't know who Casey Magan is.
Well, I'll tell you. Mr. Magan is a Somali American and a fraud investigator in the guy beside you's office, in the Attorney General's office. And here's what he said. There was a perception that forcefully tackling this issue might cause political backlash among the Somali community, which is a core voting bloc. Did that have anything to do with this whole fraud scheme that went on in your state, Governor?
It did not, Congressman.
It did not. So you're saying Mr. Casey Magan is lying too?
I'm not.
You're the only one telling the truth in the whole state. Mr. Magan, who's a fraud investigator at the Attorney General's office, says it's politics. The court said
I couldn't speak for Mr. Magan. You asked me a question.
I know. I'm asking.
And I said no when you asked me the question.
I'm saying Casey Magan said just the opposite.
I don't know.
So the court's wrong and Casey Magan's wrong. You're the only guy right. How many people have been indicted in your state right now? Do you know, Governor?
I don't have those numbers with me.
You don't? 98 people been indicted. You happen to know how many are Somali American?
I don't. We don't investigate or prosecute people based on ethnicity, religion.
Neither do I. We shouldn't do that. But Mr. Magan is a Somali American who just said that the court, one of the concerns was this is a core voting bloc. And I just want to know if you know how many of the 98 people who have been indicted in your state are Somali.
I don't. Their ethnicity is not my concern.
85% of the people indicted were Somali American, key voting bloc. And I think that's what drove this whole thing.
Of course it is, and the testimony and all the evidence suggests as well. And I know everybody is screaming, do something. This is something. They are doing something. Congress has the power to do hearings, but there will be more. All of this is evidence now. Everything that he says on the record, along with Keith Ellison, that's all evidence for potentially criminal indictments. All right, that brings us to Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace, South Carolina. This is, she sort of hit on all of the issues that matter to her most, not just the corruption in Minnesota, but there was plenty more too. Let's enjoy.
Chair now recognizes Ms. Mace from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for being here today. Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison, you have presided over one of the worst government fraud scandals in American history. This was money intended to feed hungry children, help kids with autism, provide food and shelter and health care to the needy, and more. You both allowed billions in these American taxpayer dollars to be pillaged and plundered by Somali pirates. You knew this was happening. You chose to do nothing about it, and in some cases, you even enabled it. Attorney General Ellison, you even profited from this fraud by taking campaign donations from these Somalians after pledging to help quash the investigation into them. I find your behavior despicable. My questions this morning, my first go to Governor Walz, and I hope you learned some lessons from your last hearing with me on the Oversight Committee. Have you learned anything since then?
I did, that if I didn't speak up, 2 of my people would be dead, Congresswoman, and I warned you.
Okay, Governor Walz, what is a woman? Have you learned that lesson? Do you know what a woman is?
I'm the governor of Minnesota, Congresswoman.
You know what a
I'm not
woman
here
is.
to be your prop for your obsession.
So
I
if you
taught middle
can't
school, your
define what a
obsession.
woman is, you certainly can't define what fraud is. If you can't even define what a woman is, you can't define fraud. How much money was spent on autism in Minnesota in 2017, Governor?
I don't have those numbers in front of me, Congresswoman.
Did you prepare for this hearing today? Did you do any preparation
I take
for this hearing
Congress
today?
seriously.
And you've seen the numbers about autism fraud in Minnesota. So we're going to do some Minnesota math with you today, okay? Are you ready? How much money was spent on 2017 for autism in Minnesota? How much?
I don't know. I wasn't the governor.
Okay. Did you not just say that you prepared for this hearing today? $1 million, okay? A quick Google search or using your AI could tell you $1 million was spent. How much money was spent on autism in Minnesota in 2024?
I don't have the number in front of me. As
Were you governor in 2024?
I was, but I'm not the
Okay,
head
so
of
your
HHS.
excuse before that you didn't know what 2017 autism numbers were because you were not governor, and today you can't answer the numbers about 2024 as governor, and you still said you prepared for this hearing today. It's unbelievable. $343 million was spent in 2024. What percent increase is that from 1 million to 343 million? What percentage increase is that?
I'm not here to be your prop. Go ahead and tell me.
Are you governor of Minnesota or not?
Yes, I am. I'm
Okay,
not.
well,
I'm
when
not
I'm
a prop
governor of
for a
South
member of
Carolina,
Congress.
you can sure as hell bet that I'm going to know the math. The math is 34,200% increase, an increase of 343 times what it was in this time period. Do you know the number of children in Minnesota?
I know that Minnesota ranked as a top 3 state for children in the last year.
What is the total population in Minnesota?
5.7 million.
Okay. What is the total population of children in Minnesota?
I don't have the number in front of me right now.
Are you governor of Minnesota?
I know 400,000 were cut out of health care last
Okay,
week by
that's
the
not-
actions you made.
Are you governor of Minnesota?
I am.
And you don't know the number of children
I
residing
don't have
in
the
Minnesota?
specific number. It's 5.7 million.
That's your total
What is your age?
population.
What is the age?
1.2
0 to 5? 0 to 19?
You have approximately 1.2 million children in Minnesota.
What
I'm not
age?
even governor of South Carolina. Our population in South Carolina is 5.5 million. We have approximately 1.1 million children under the age of 18 in my home state of South Carolina, okay? As governor, I expect you to know this information. Thank God you're not Vice President of the United States. Do you know approximately how many children in Minnesota are autistic or on the spectrum?
No, I don't have that number.
Okay, well, if you take the CDC's roughly 1 in 36 kids are on the spectrum, we're talking about approximately 33,000 kids. In South Carolina, it's about 31,000 or so. What is, do you know what this is per child, spending-wise, in the fraud for autistic kids in Minnesota?
Again, I'm not here to be your prop. Go ahead and tell us.
This isn't, is doing Minnesota math a prop? This is math. We're talking about fraud.
Minnesota ranks at the top. Where does South Carolina rank?
We're talking about money.
Where do South Carolina children rank on healthiness?
These are my questions for you. It doesn't go the other way around unless we're debating on the debate stage. And we're not.
If you're asking questions about being governor, it does.
I'm asking you
When you're
questions
governor,
about
you can
being
come and
governor
tell
of
me.
Minnesota, which you can't answer. This is basic math. And you can't even answer.
not
Do you
here to
even
be your
care
prop.
about kids in Minnesota?
They rank near
Do
the
you
top
care?
in every category. My children are fed. My
Care
children
about
are housed.
autistic
My
children
children have
getting
health
the
care.
services they need in
My
Minnesota.
children have the best
No,
schools.
you don't. Mr. Chairman, I yield back. Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady yields back.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Ms. Boebert? Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Mr. Mace.
May I make my two motions?
Proceed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I move that the committee issue a subpoena to the Honorable Pamela Jo Bondi to appear before the committee for a deposition regarding the department's handling of the investigation to Jeffrey Epstein and his associates and compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act.
A motion has been made. The committee will hold this motion in abeyance until the end of today's hearing. The committee will now proceed with today's hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the committee issue a subpoena to the Office of Congressional Workplace Rights for the awards and settlements paid pursuant to Section 415 of the Congressional Accountability Act prior to December 12, 2018, with only redactions allowable for the personally identifiable information of victims, alleged.
All right, those motions didn't have anything to do with the Tim Walz thing, but obviously are connected to the Epstein deal. Just stick it on, keep it on the Walz testimony here. That was blistering. And if Tim Walz thinks that he came out on the top side of that testimony, once again, to echo the Congresswoman from South Carolina, thank God he's not vice president. The math there is astounding: $343 million a year now in 2024. Just extrapolating on the average number of cases of children on the autism spectrum, based on the CDC's numbers right now, that would be about 33,000. That's a hell of a lot of money per child. And by the way, just so you're not distracted by Tim Walz, every single time he said, my state ranks number 3, my state ranks, it's all based on spending. Democrats never rank their quality based on performance or the actual outcomes. It's always based on money. So because Minnesota spends all that money, they think they're doing great, and they are if you quantify greatness based on how much money is fraudulently funneled to Somali refugees that then apparently end up in the pockets of Somali terrorists. All right, Congressman Emmer had a moment with Keith Ellison. We want to wrap it up with that.
As you know, I have addressed this issue many times.
All right. Reclaiming my time. In that same meeting with the fraudsters, Mr. Attorney General, you took aim at the Minnesota Department of Education. You stated that the Minnesota Department of Education had fought the nonprofit in very disgusting ways, in a very racist, xenophobic, and Islamophobic manner. You actually asked for the names of all these folks who are just hung up and offered to call the Minnesota Department of Education to, quote, demand some explanations. We now know that when you made these comments, the Biden DOJ was working with the Minnesota Department of Education and that their work exposed the massive fraud ring. Pretty bad look for you, sir. Either you were oblivious to what was going on under your nose, or worse, you were trying to obstruct the work of the Minnesota Department of Education. So I can see the time is getting short. Mr. Chairman, we are left with two questions. One, what did Governor Walz and Keith Ellison know about the fraud? And two, when did they actually know it? I would suggest that if they do not give direct and truthful answers to both these questions at this hearing, then they both need to be put under oath in a deposition. This is a serious thing, Mr. Attorney General. You are the only one who thinks protecting taxpayer dollars is political. Mr. Ellison, my concern is that you actively obstructed this investigation in exchange for campaign donations, a quid pro quo. If these concerns are proven to be true, you should be disbarred and you should go to jail. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Ms. Norton from Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I would echo the good gentleman of Minnesota's remarks there. It's not getting any easier for Walz and Ellison as they continue to repeat the same lies over and over and over again. If only we had a national media who were focused on this issue still. For those of you who thought that we would drop this and we move on and the distractions with ICE enforcement would actually take this off the headlines, you're wrong. We're still on it, and it's not our fault that the Washington Post and the New York Times don't care. In fact, it'll be interesting. The Washington Post, the paper of record in Washington, D.C., we're all supposed to be upset that people got laid off from their sports section. This happened today in Washington, D.C., just about an hour ago on Capitol Hill, something I thought the Washington Post actually focused on and cared about. How many column inches do you think they'll devote to it tomorrow in their newspaper? Any at all? All right, coming up in just 60 seconds, senators analyze and answer questions about the military strikes in Iran, and our favorite, John Kennedy, absolutely nails it. John Fetterman also pushed back hard against CNN, so we'll show that to you in 1 minute. First, though, international disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons. Gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And also a never-ending list of reasons many Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold is a commodity that's thrived during uncertainty, which is why it can be a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It can give you peace of mind given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you, too. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text my name, Larry, to the number 989898. You'll receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. They've got an A+ with the Better Business Bureau, tens of thousands of happy customers. Let Birch Gold Group help you diversify with gold so you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty. Text Larry to 989898. Again, text my name, Larry, to 989898. Do it today. Well, the media wants answers about the military strikes in Iran. After all, it's been 3 days. When's it going to be over? It's just amazing to watch them do their job, isn't it? And it's amazing to watch certain politicians handle them so very deftly. CNN tried to nail John Fetterman down and get him to criticize Trump, criticize the military, criticize Israel. He was having none of it. We'll show you Fetterman coming up in a second. But first, John Kennedy from Louisiana, fan favorite here on this program. He had some colorful language regarding the military strikes.
We're fighting another country, powerful country, 90 million people. But here's what I see. I see a country that is run by Jack Nicholson in The Shining. These are religious zealots. If you don't agree with their version of Islam, you have to die. I see a bunch of religious zealots who are determined to get a nuclear warhead. They're never going to stop. I see religious zealots running a country that even after we bombed their nuclear facilities in June, they've already started back, and they've lied about it. I see a powerful country that's amassing anywhere from 200 to 600 missiles a month, so that eventually they'll have enough missiles to threaten the whole world and prevent us from doing something about their nuclear capability. I see a powerful country of religious zealots at the leadership level who, if they get a nuclear weapon, will use it. I think that's what the American people see. I think that's what President Trump saw. I think he did the right thing.
All right. And then last night on Fox News with Sean Hannity, he was specifically asked about the Ayatollah Khamenei. You know, by the way, Mayor Mamdani of New York, he was asked a real simple question about where he stands on the war. It was super simple. Are the people of Iran better off without the Ayatollah as their supreme leader? He couldn't actually answer that question. And by the way, if you can't give an unequivocal answer to a simple question like that, you have, in fact, given us your answer. Now, Senator Kennedy asked about the Ayatollah. He didn't go full Mamdani, not even close.
Sean, in the words of Congresswoman Omar, I love you like a brother. And I want you to understand I'm not trying to dodge your question. I just want to answer it in a little different way. I don't hate anyone, but I will shed no tears for the Ayatollah Khamenei. He won the coin toss, and he elected to receive. And boy, did he receive. May he rest in pieces. He died with the blood of millions of people under his fingernails.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there and enjoy, but I think the best part was right at the beginning.
Sean, in the words of Congresswoman Omar, I love you like a brother.
Oh no, he didn't. Yes, he did. Yes. He won the coin toss and he elected to receive. That's a good one, too. I might have to use it. All right. Meanwhile, another senator, this one from Florida, Rick Scott, walking through, I believe, the security ropes there at the Rayburn building, I want to say, in the Senate. Anyway, he was confronted by the very well-funded by communists in China activist group Code Pink. And, well, he handled them pretty well. Watch.
Can you tell me why the U.S. is in a war with Iran?
Because they are building missiles and want to kill all of us.
They want to kill all of us? Well, the U.S. intelligence said that there was no threat from Iran.
It's not true.
Iran wanted to kill us?
Have you not followed the news? They put out all the time.
Yeah, well, saying something like that and actually doing something.
So people that are saying
America
they're building weapons and trying to build nuclear weapons and they want to destroy America and we shouldn't take them seriously.
They were attacked
by the... How dumb are you?
They were attacked by the U.S.
How dumb are you?
Israel while we were negotiating.
You think that it's okay for people to say they want to destroy us and it's okay? We should just ignore that.
As long as they're not doing anything.
100 missiles... They're not doing anything.
You know why there's a lot of hatred to America? Do you remember 1953 when we overthrew their democratically elected government? And do you know twice?
Democratic Iran, Democratic.
Yeah, Mossadegh. 1953, Mossadegh. And do you know twice the U.S. was negotiating and then went ahead and bombed them during negotiations? Oh my God, he's so awful.
Her name's Medea Benjamin, by the way, and she's been doing this since, I believe, 2002. Code Pink. This is her job, and she makes a lot of money doing it. The conversion rate from Beijing to the U.S. dollar is not always that favorable, but I do love Senator Rick Scott has just sort of set the bar for how every single senator should deal with Medea Benjamin, as she asks on behalf of Code Pink for her social media platforms questions like that. Rick Scott summed it up perfectly. How dumb are you? That's all. That's all they can. That's all you need to say. I know you're not supposed to answer a question with a question, but that is the only question to ask Code Pink. How dumb are you? And by the way, John Fetterman could have done that with his CNN interview. Watch how this went, as CNN is just outraged at the fact that John Fetterman has a moral compass and actually isn't going to trash our military, trash our mission against Iran, trash the Trump administration, or for that matter, trash Israel. John Fetterman, ladies and gentlemen.
So the Israeli defense minister, I asked that because the Israeli defense minister posted today that every leader appointed by the Iranian terror regime to continue and lead the plan to destroy Israel, to threaten the United States and the free world and the countries of the region, and to suppress the Iranian people. He writes, every leader appointed by the Iranian regime will be an unequivocal target for elimination. That's going forward. So that is a U.S. goal going forward?
Well, yeah, just keep killing them until they're gone. I mean, absolutely. I saw that. I've read that they're going to target who they ever elect to be their next leader and kill them. Absolutely, I fully support it. So that's what's entirely appropriate. Now they have to decide: are we going to continue choose now peace or now we're going to try to destroy Israel? They really don't have those capabilities. At this point, it's just empty rhetoric, because we all know that Iran is able to really project the kinds of damage.
So then who decides what leader should lead Iran then? If you think that the United States should take part in taking out every leader going forward if it doesn't meet the right measure?
Well, by the way, first of all, I just love how plain spoken it is. Like, are you okay with killing the person that they were going to make the next supreme leader? It's like, absolutely. Kill them. Let me just shorthand this for you. Again, from an American's perspective, and I know this may sound naive, but I don't think, now that we're engaged militarily, and it appears as though we might have something to say about the next government in Iran. Again, we're not in charge of regime change, but since we've lost lives here, and since we're, spending quite a bit of our treasure and our military force in ensuring that the people of Iran have the opportunity to, turn the page here on the totalitarian theocracy they've had, maybe we have a bit of a say in who the next guys are. And I have a humble suggestion. Maybe we do away with the whole office of supreme leader. Maybe, just a humble thought, but maybe the Constitution of Iran needs to be modified a bit, if they even have one, where they no longer have the position of supreme leader, where a guy with a turban gets to say that God told him that you should be murdered if you're a woman and you let your hair slip out of a headscarf. Okay? Just a humble suggestion from those of us over here who are helping to liberate the people of Iran from this tyranny. It seems to me that if they keep getting together to try to elect the next authoritarian theocrat who's going to rule without question, without election as the supreme leader, maybe they haven't gotten the message quite yet. We ain't going to play that anymore. And the world may scream imperialism and who are we to judge and who are we to say, but you know what? I'll answer that question, because I'm not an elected official and I don't have to worry about politics. Who are we to say? We're the guys who just dropped rockets on your head. That's who we are. And the other countries may not say it out loud, and all the presidents who followed Donald Trump for the next several decades may not say it out loud. But the fact of the matter is, all of them, the current leadership on the planet and the future presidents of the United States who will sit in the Oval Office for the next several decades, they are all grateful that this was done. And it will only be a success if Iran has a path forward that doesn't include a supreme leader. So I just love that that's like, well, I mean, then how many do you get? Well, if they keep getting together and saying we're just going to replace the last Ayatollah with the new version of the Ayatollah, we're going to have a problem here. And Fetterman gets it.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm sorry. I absolutely, I support killing, the leadership of the Iranian. Absolutely. I absolutely support that. I think that's entirely appropriate. until hopefully they'll pick someone that realizes that they need to live and coexist in peace in the region and stop trying to destroy Israel and destabilize the region.
Senator John Fetterman, thank you for your time.
And if anyone, that's another thing Democrats say. No one will mourn the death of the Ayatollah. Well, yeah, so that's just another way of saying it's a good thing that he's been killed, right? I'll call it what it is. I won't say, well, I won't weep for him. Just call it what it is. It's like it's a good thing that he's been erased now. And then if they pick another one that wants to do
Democrats,
the same thing, erase them too.
I hear your point, but I've had every Democrat who's been on this show that I've heard is having two thoughts in their head at once, which is it is good to have the Ayatollah gone, but they do not agree and do not understand the justification of going in now with this war at this moment. That is the distinction I've heard from other Democrats on the show, but we are now out of time. Senator, thank you for your time. John.
Allow me to have the last word and speak on behalf of Democrats. She says to a Democrat. But, CNN has to do that. CNN, the anchor teleprompter reader at CNN, has to make sure that their viewers know the perspective of all the other Democrats in the Senate without allowing John Fetterman to respond to it. Otherwise, the segment would not be complete. And who's there to speak for Democrats? Well, certainly not the elected Democrat they brought in. No. The anchor who reads the teleprompter. She'll be the one to speak on behalf of the party. It's beautiful how that plays out, isn't it? The Fetterman's 100% right. They can have two thoughts at the same time. It's good to get rid of the Ayatollah, but Trump is worse. Those are the two thoughts they have at the same time. That said, and again, listen, my editorial position on this and most of my colleagues' editorial position on this has been incredibly enthusiastic and supportive of the military strikes. And yet, at the same time, it's funny, for decades, Democrats were haunted by the Vietnam War. I think mostly because it was their guy, Lyndon B. Johnson, who created such a nightmare at the Vietnam War. And so every single military involvement that the United States had really up through the Iraq-Afghanistan engagements in the early 2000s, every single thing was, it's going to be another Vietnam. It's going to be another Vietnam. It's going to be another Vietnam. And I get it. I understand why they felt shameful about Vietnam, because Democrats were horrific during Vietnam. LBJ was a terrible commander-in-chief. He allowed for way too many American soldiers to be killed over there in country. Democrats here who were about to be drafted decided to flee to Canada and allow good patriotic Americans to get drafted and fight that war. And then Jimmy Carter gets in and gives a free pass and amnesty to everybody who fled the draft and lived in another country. And, let's not forget that it was Democrats after Nixon and Kissinger had negotiated a peace in Vietnam and promised the people of Vietnam that if the Viet Cong came in and broke the peace treaty, we'd be there to help them. They did under President Gerald Ford, and Congress refused to allow Ford to send the military over. So, yeah, they should have felt guilty about Vietnam for decades. But now here we are, and everyone in Washington, D.C., the second a jet flies and drops a bomb or a rocket is shot from one of those beautiful submarines we've got, they immediately say, it's a forever war, it's a forever war, it's a forever war. This is awful, it's Afghanistan, it's Iraq. And I don't mean to mock, I really don't, because trust me, I have held the hands of too many people who have lost their loved ones in those forever wars. I have interviewed too many forever altered and injured veterans of those wars who lost limbs, who are suffering from traumatic brain injury, and still wake up in the middle of the night in horror and terror, mostly because of Iranians, by the way, in those forever wars. So I get that. I do. One can be wary of walking down that path again and knowing that elected officials and people in power were not completely, if even partially, truthful with us as they led us into war. One can be wary of that and skeptical of that, yet at the same time support this effort right now as the conclusion of 47 years of tyranny. Because if you really care about the loss of life, American lives, and limbs in those forever wars, then you know who was mostly responsible for that. The Iranians. So we can be hesitant and skeptical and challenge the political narrative that is being pushed at us over this military involvement in the Middle East, and at the same time be supportive of it as long as it deserves our support. And I will wrap it up then with the thoughts of this man, one of our favorites, Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee, who was asked specifically kind of about the same question. Of course, it's all framed within, a couple of podcasters that have big platforms who most of the people in the media ridicule, mock, deride. They hate these podcasters and these streaming journalists, except the second they say something that might be critical of President Trump or his policies, they hold these very same podcasters and video streamers up as if they are, the Pope. They said this, so you must respond to it, right? That said, you see this question being asked all over the place. Is this going to split the MAGA base? Is this going to erode Trump's support amongst conservatives and the MAGA base that loves the podcasters and the streamers? What will you do? They ask that all the time because that's exactly what they want to happen. They're willing it. It's wish casting. So the question was asked of Tim Burchett, and he gave, I think, the only appropriate answer to this question. Watch.
Yes, ma'am. I was just going to ask, what do you say to MAGA voters who are concerned right now about another forever war, about Americans who are dying overseas and are being told to expect more casualties?
I would say stay concerned. Be concerned, be vigilant, hold our feet to the fire, keep us honest on that issue.
Even when it comes to Trump's decisions on this?
Absolutely, man. Nobody's above your reproach. Just don't tell the president I said that.
And he's right. We support this effort. We support the intention behind it. We support the tactics that have been used. And God knows we support the men and women who are carrying out this incredible military endeavor, incredibly successful one. And we support it right up until we don't. Right up until Mr. Burchett and the other elected officials, and yes, even the president, give us a reason not to support their policies. Yes, we will. Absolutely. Stay vigilant, and we will hold them to the fire. That's what we're supposed to do. It's a constitutional republic, after all. All right, coming up in a moment is your weed killer giving you cancer. We've got a segment about that, but first let's get to your super chats here, if you don't mind. Angela, Child of God, $2 super chat. A moment of silence for Jazzy Crockapoop loser. Poor Jasmine Crockett. If she weren't such a hateful racist, I'd feel bad for her. Charles Crow Flies High, $10 super chat. JC and the Dems Scumbucket. Okay. Durrell Hale, $4.99 super chat. How do people look at the slums that we call California and New York City and think, yeah, I'm going to vote Democrat? Well, that's going to be the biggest problem for Gavin Newsom, isn't it? Stumble Boots with a $2 super chat. You're cool too, Clippy. God's best friend with a £2 super chat. James Tellerica is a giant welcome mat. Step on it. Charles Crow Flies High, $10 super chat. Larry, you married a Sooner. I'm happy from Fort Hood, Texas. Boomer. I did. Tara Kersey with a $10 super chat. Dems turn people away from Christ by twisting scriptures. I can't. Yeah, I know. It's a horrible thing to witness. And hopefully people can see through it. We got to make sure everyone's catechized enough to at least see through that non-Christian drivel that is being pushed at you as Christianity. Angela with a $5 super chat. Carrying the Son of God is totally different. Did this moron get his ordination online or a Cracker Jack box? Bring it on. Isn't he a white male? Yes. Yes, they nominated a white male over Jasmine Crockett because, well, you know why. Psychological Projectionist, £5 super chat, is saying if it is God's will, really consenting? I'm not a believer, but UK law is now anything that is not yes is no. This is mere compliance. That's very funny. Yeah, I wonder if Mary's consent, according to James Tellerico, would match the documents that you have to fill out before you get busy on a college campus these days. Dave B700 with a $4.99 super chat. Mary had not yet conceived when she agreed. Presumably, if she said no, then Paul McCartney would have to sing Mother Judith Comes to Me. That's right. Judith. Was Judith like the plan B? I don't think there was a plan B. You didn't need one with our Immaculate Mother. God's best friend with a £2 super chat. Walz's face has something to do with the tampon. It's probably a little tight. GBF £5 super chat as Galactic Village idiot. I know more about the galaxy than Walz knows about Minnesota. Thank you, sir. Angela Child of God, $2 super chat. We don't need national media. We have Larry. I am national media. Thank you, Angela. GBF £2 super chat. Medea Benjamin, where can I donate to her? Can I donate to her? GBF £2 super chat. Regime change is as important as nappy change. Nappy is a diaper over there in England, everybody, just so you know. Aaron Moi, $4.99 super chat. Would love to watch you interview Tallarico Epic. Oh, I would too, but he would never. Angela, $5 super chat. Why now? Maybe because if Congress doesn't get off their ass and pass the SAVE Act, Democrats may steal the midterms, kill America first. Why now? Oh, you mean why now in terms of the military? Gotcha. $5 super chat over on Rumble from Casperius says, Dems probably told Crockett to shush if she ever wants to run anywhere. We haven't seen the last of her, and she will be back in another state or district. Probably, Kevin. Aaron Moi, $4.99 super chat. Prayers up for our troops. Amen to that. Prayers for our troops, please. Oh, Psychological Projection is £5 super chat. Tallarico said the movement is about whether the people will hold the power in this state and in this country. Does he mean Republicans are not people? Ooh. I think that is what he thinks. All right. That's it. That's good. We're good. We're good. All right. Let me change my lights to purple and we'll move on. I hate pulling weeds because I'm a dad and a husband and I don't like doing it. Nobody likes pulling weeds. That's why it was like a modern day miracle when they came up with that over-the-counter stuff, the weed killer that you can just squirt while you walk along listening to the game, right? And it was called Roundup. Kills all the weeds. Still out there. Great stuff. Because I also hate getting cancer. You know, that's the decision I guess we've got here. You know, what's worse, pulling weeds or getting cancer? Because, yeah, sadly, it's been determined that there are connections between Roundup and its ability to get into our food supply and cancer. In fact, there was recently a settlement here, $7.25 billion on that settlement. Although that sounds like a lot, but when you talk about all the people affected by it, it only works out to between $10,000 and $165,000 per person, which in the long run doesn't sound like a whole lot at all. How did this happen, and what can we do to protect ourselves from it? Here, take a look at this video, and then we'll talk about it.
50 years ago, Monsanto invented something that would change the world forever.
Roundup, no root, no weed, no problem.
But Roundup was more than just a good weed killer.
We've been using the weed killer for decades, but now it's at the center of a $1 billion health scandal.
Did Roundup weed killer cause a man to get cancer?
There's many diseases that are linked to glyphosate exposure.
My doctor, he goes, you know, I think this is all due to Roundup.
What made Roundup so effective was the chemical glyphosate, that thanks to Monsanto has become the most popular pesticide in the world, and now one that's linked to cancer.
My patient's dying just so their shareholders can make a few more bucks, just so their CEO can get a bonus.
Despite its links to cancer, Roundup is still a $1 billion business. So how exactly did Monsanto pull this off?
There was an intentional effort to deceive that took place over many decades.
And now Monsanto has a new owner, a $1 billion pharmaceutical firm. And together, they're working on a way to keep selling Roundup, no matter the cost.
Links to cancer, a $1 billion effort to deceive the public. And I'm betting you didn't see a whole lot of news reports like that video we just showed you. It's because there's been a news blackout. Much of that is because these pharmaceutical companies end up spending a lot of money on television advertising, especially on cable news. That's not a coincidence. I'm sure you've noticed that it's a lot of pharmaceutical ads you see when you watch cable news. And, well, you know how these things work. That settlement that we just talked about, it actually pales in comparison to what happened in San Francisco in 2019. One person, one plaintiff, his name was Edwin Hardiman. He got an $80 million settlement in damages because of a Roundup cancer trial. That's why they moved quickly for this settlement. And strangely, even though you saw Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in that video, they're talking about this. it was the Trump administration that's actually sort of allowed for this settlement and to sort of tamp down on what could be chaotic and pretty damaging to the Bayer Corporation, who now owns Monsanto, with all of the settlements that they were facing. All right, so what's this all about? And by the way, most importantly, what can you do to protect yourself and protect your health in this environment? Let's bring in a friend of the program, Kim Bright. She's the founder of Brightcore. She's been helping Americans get healthy for over 50 years. And this is a stunning story, Kim. It really is.
Well, it is, and it has been. It's been going on for a long time. And, you know, I want to say, despite all the great things that this Trump administration has done, Americans, I don't believe, should be asked to accept a greater cancer risk to help pad corporate pockets, Larry. And that said, I mean, there's reasons not to blame RFK Jr. and the administration for farmers' dependence on pesticides. They've been lulled into it over many, many, many decades. Sometimes even if they wanted to get loans from banks, they had to use these pesticides. And one thing I want to point out too, Larry, is it's not only the glyphosate, it's the whole pesticide toolbox. It's the herbicides, insecticides, fungicides used across modern agriculture. And people need to understand that each chemical has its own risk profile. And in real life, we are exposed to a multitude of them on a daily basis.
Well, here's what I'm not understanding. And I'll be honest, like most Americans, I haven't done a real deep dive into all of this, but I've always sort of comforted myself under the blanket of knowledge that people approve these pesticides and weed killers and things like that under the guise that even though obviously they're dangerous to bugs and things like that, they're so watered down and they don't make it into our food system and they don't really affect our health. I feel like I'm wrong in that assumption.
Well, Larry, I'm sorry you've been the ostrich like most people, but I've had to study it to help people for a long, long time. And I will tell you, you know, there's many ways they get them in. One way is the Roundup Ready seeds that they created, you know, with the GMOs, genetically modified organisms. And the other way is that they spray. And a lot of people, they picture pesticides as something that just is going to sit on the outside of the produce, like a dusty layer that you could rinse off when you buy your produce and just rinse it off. But some of them actually soak in and move through the plant's tissues. So they're actually within the plant itself and part of the plant. Think of the plant drinking water through its roots and sending it up through its leaves and then finally the fruit. Certain pesticides can hitch a ride in that same system, Larry. They end up inside of what we actually eventually eat. Now, others will stay more on the surface and cling to the skins and leaves after spraying, and some can drift from nearby fields or wash into irrigation water and show up where you wouldn't expect. But if you're using the GMO seeds and then you have to spray on top of it, which a lot of the farmers said they had to anyway, using the GMO seeds, they were told they wouldn't have to spray. Well, that's the problem. And even if you're eating a strict only organic diet, guess what? This stuff travels in the air. And by the time the food's on your plate, you know, there could be some tiny residues that have survived the journey.
Even if you're eating organic. All right. And when we've been studying, we know about these cancer lawsuits and the settlements and things like that. But there are other health problems that go beyond just cancer linked to these sprays and things.
Oh, yeah. They're affecting every area of our body. I mean, reproductive illnesses and the brain and the nervous system. Some of these pesticides are made to disrupt insects' nerves, and certain types can also interfere with human nerve signaling. And they, you know, a lot of people have headaches, dizziness, tremors, and they're linked to that, and even memory and attention issues. And then our endocrine system, Larry, some pesticides actually act like hormone blockers, and those potentially are affecting our thyroid function, our metabolism, and increasing our risk of obesity and weight management issues. And then the organs for detoxifying, like our liver and our kidneys, they are constantly nonstop working overtime to try and rid our body of these things. And our lungs, even, and our airways, these pesticides get in there and they irritate our airways and they worsen asthma and any other respiratory issues that you might have. And perhaps, I want to say most importantly, they reshape our gut microbiome. wiping out the helpful bacteria, shrinking the overall diversity, which is the most important thing in our gut microbiome, is that diversity. And that's tied to our resilience and long-term health. And when that diversity drops and the beneficial microbes decline, you are going to be more likely to see things like leaky, inflamed gut environments that are linked to problems far beyond your digestion. We're talking about weaker immune regulation, higher chronic inflammation, metabolic issues, mood and cognitive effects, depression, greater vulnerability to disease over time.
Kim Bright, you're killing me, Kim. There's so much bad stuff. They're killing us. Okay, well, here's the thing, and listen, we've been hearing so much about gut health, and so hearing that this affects gut health, that makes sense because this seems to be everywhere. And for all of our new viewers or listeners who are just getting to know Kim Bright, I promise you, we bring her on because she actually has really good news at the end of all of this. The good news is that our bodies are incredible, and God has in fact given us the ability to fight back on these things, but we got to know what kind of tools to use. So what can we do to prevent this kind of damage?
Well, again, I want to reiterate that it isn't just the damage to our microbiome. That's not just a gut issue. It's a whole body health issue that people really need to get. And here's the thing. You have to be a little very selective, I would say, and very careful about what you're eating now. You have to put some attention on it. You have to take responsibility for what you choose to put in your body. Pay attention to the sourcing of your food. Kind of have to be a sleuth these days when you want to eat. Eat organic whenever possible because that's going to have the least amount of bad things in it. And there are proactive things that you can do to protect yourself, which is why I was so excited when I found this study. And believe me, I literally consume lots of studies every day to keep up with everything. But the study that I found, this one talks about how they were able to break down certain pesticides with kimchi, Larry. I was jumping for joy because this was just amazing. I mean, 83% were degraded by day 3, and by day 9, these pesticides were degraded completely.
Wow.
And this study goes on to show how this centuries-old food kimchi, how kimchi's gut protective properties provide the best protection from toxins in our food supply. And of course, the lactic acid bacteria in kimchi, what they do is they take these pesticides and they use them as a source because they have carbon and phosphorus in them. So they use this as a source and they break them down into less toxic components. And this is just one of thousands of studies showing the remarkable ability of kimchi to positively impact our health.
That is incredible. And it's like we learn more and more about kimchi every single day, Kim, and it truly is a miracle food. And of course, one of the concerns about kimchi, though, is that it's hard to incorporate it into your diet on a daily basis, right? That's really not part of our diet and culture here in the West, or here in the US at least.
Well, yes, exactly. And let me read you a few of these study titles that I've been reading, because I mean, there's so many massive amounts of them. We'd be here all day if I read them all, but let me just read you a few.
Okay.
Kimchi's linked to enhanced immune function, improved gut health, and better metabolic markers. Next one is cancer preventative potential of kimchi lactic acid bacteria. Then kimchi shown to improve irritable bowel syndrome. Next one, study shows that eating kimchi every day for 12 weeks can do far more than improve gut health. It can train your immune system to fight smarter. And then bioactive compounds in kimchi improve the cognitive and memory functions impaired by amyloid beta. Now, that's the key marker in Alzheimer's disease, Larry. And then fermented kimchi consumption significantly improves metabolic health by reducing blood triglyceride levels by up to 33%, and along with lowering your blood pressure, total cholesterol, and fasting glucose. And then there's a new clinical study that confirmed the anti-obesity effects of kimchi, and the kimchi diet reduces body fat by 31.8% in a preclinical study. And then anti-aging effects and mechanisms of kimchi actually slowed aging of human cells. Now, this is exciting, just like you
Amazing.
said. This is the good news of what we're dealing with all the bad stuff that we talked about at the beginning. Isn't that exciting?
It is exciting. And I know how thrilled you are with this, especially the idea of helping regenerate cells and all of the studies that are going into that and extending people's lives in that regard. This is why you got into this business 5 decades ago, because you want to make people healthy. You saw it in your own life.
Most definitely. And, you know, I started Brightcore, 29 years ago. And all of these remarkable benefits of kimchi are why we decided to create Kimchi One. Now, whether you like the taste of kimchi or not, I happen to love it, been eating it for almost 50 years. It's not something that's easy to eat every day. But now it is, because these are convenient capsules that we've made for daily use. And what we do is we use a cold process drying method that retains all the live probiotics, enzymes, and the fiber of fresh kimchi, which is the prebiotic, which feeds the probiotics. And then also we have the metabolites in there, which help in the end as well. So low in sodium, unlike the store-bought. 100% made in the USA, non-GMO, all natural. And Larry, I can't tell you how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories we have coming in constantly. Either they call us or they write us and they say, my whole life has changed because of kimchi, with my regularity and my digestion, no more gas and bloating. People that had problems with their immune system and they used to get sick all the time, they're not getting sick anymore.
Yeah.
And people who were dealing with bacterial or fungal infections like candida overgrowth, they were finally able to get rid of these harmful microbes, because kimchi, I don't know if you know this, it's a natural antimicrobial. Now, what does that mean? It means it's antibacterial, against bacteria, antifungal, against fungus, antiviral, and antiparasitic. So this is incredible that this one food can cover that whole panoply of bad guys.
Well-
So people who were suffering from a variety of symptoms and couldn't identify the cause are finally feeling better too. And guess what? Pesticides could be the reason for your unexplained symptoms.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Kimchi One is just so convenient and so easy to take, and it packs such a powerful punch. And I've gotten emails from listeners and viewers who said, they made it through winter for the first time in years without getting sick. And I had one guy told me that his athlete's foot is reducing now, and he doesn't have the same kind of athlete's foot they used to. That's the antifungal property there. All right, so let's wrap this up then with really, really good news. If people want to try Kimchi One, since they're watching us right now and they're loyal to my show, they get something special today, right?
Oh, yes. They can go visit us at brightcore.com/Larry and get 25% off using the code Larry, or get up to 50% off your order and free shipping only when you call in at 888-462-4779. I want to let people know again, we're a small family-owned business. I started the company 29 years ago, and we want you to call so we can talk to you and make sure this is the right product for you. The first 100 callers, Larry, we're going to give them a free bottle of Thrive with their order. So that's even another incentive to call in. And Thrive is our curcumin turmeric complex, and we combine it with ginger and black pepper extract. And what this does is it combats inflammation, it boosts brain function, and it even promotes liver health. So remember, you can only get the best discounts in that free bottle of Thrive when you call in to 888-462-4779.
Yeah, Meredith loves the Thrive. In fact, she used to do some other turmeric ginger combination pill that she doesn't buy anymore because she likes Thrive. It's a lot gentler on her system, and it's been a big thing for her inflammation. So thank you for that. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
Kim, always great to talk with you. Thank you for bringing this latest news to the table for us so that we can keep ourselves healthy and living a long, long time in this great, beautiful country of ours.
Appreciate you having me on. Let's all get healthy.
Thanks, Kim. And just remember, everybody, you can use that QR code. Let's pop it up real fast for people who are watching. Use the QR code or go to brightcore.com/Larry. Get the 25% off. But honestly, give them a call. They love talking to you. By the time you're done with your phone conversation with the folks at Brightcore, they're going to invite you over for Sunday dinner. You bring the casserole dish. It's going to be fabulous. 888-462-4779. You'll get up to 50% off, free shipping, and you're going to get that free bottle of Thrive. Awesome. Love it. Thanks for that, Kim. And thanks for watching, everyone, today. That's it for us. But we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. In the meantime, my name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry.